as you can see, you know, I've had the tedious task of getting all our masking and our blue tack sausages down. So what you want to kind of do is also make sure that, you know, it's all down nicely, okay? Because you might have put it all on, but you want to have like a final check to just look around and just see, you know, there's no gaps, you know, it's down, okay? Because any kind of overspray means you're going to have to come back afterwards and maybe even spray by freehand or remask and all this kind of stuff. So if you make sure everything is all looking good and all looking right now, it's going to save you a load of hassle when you're demasking. Oh, I got a mistake there, a bit of overspray there and all that stuff. So as spoken about the paints, I'm going with the XF81, okay, which is Tamiya's new dark green for Spitfires, so it should be more accurate. So same usual stuff, X28 thinners by Tamiya, okay. Get ourselves a nice 50-50 mix. Okay, we probably don't need that much actually in our colour cup because it really does go. When you do the camo pattern, this second stage, it's not going to take that much paint to get it done. Okay, and we've just put in about a nice 50-50 mix. Okay, like so. Where's my paintbrush gone? Again, it keeps running off. There it is, got it. Okay, and we give that a nice mix and make sure it's all mixed together. Right, and you might notice again, I'm not doing pre-shading, okay? I really don't like to do my pre-shading with camo patterns, okay? Because the reason I do that is if we did like some pre-shading, okay, and then we did our brown on top, okay, and then we come along and we do our camo pattern green here, we're just going to end up killing off all that pre-shading for, say, the second stage of camo, okay, because you've already got your brown down, as you can see here, which, you know, a green coat on top of this is going to kill off any pre-shading, unless you go off and do 2 lots of pre-shading. But I just find it's a lot nicer and easier if you just simply come along and do post-shading. Post-shading will sort out that pre-shading, okay? So we can simply come along and put a nice light misty coat in all our areas that's been left unmasked, okay, to start this nice process of our camo pattern. Okay, like so. And that's like 1/2 done there, nice misty coat, okay, and then we can come along and get that bit more of a thicker coat. I wouldn't say thicker, but, you know, so we say a normal proper coat of paint. Make sure you get those leading edges and get that 45-degree angle, okay, not go like that so you end up kind of spraying the underneath. Right, so there we go, that is first wing. You know, we've had about, what, a misty coat and a normal coat on there, and that's starting to go green. One more coat in there should sort that out, okay? So I'm going to do the rest of the model, and don't forget, you know, because sometimes I've forgotten, you know, and haven't masked up, and you've got to stop and remask up and do your elevators and stuff. So I'll be back when this is done. So, as you can see, a little bit's just happened. Basically went over, sprayed the green, and I did the usual bleaching, okay? What I've already shown you, bleaching, exactly the same, but with green, okay? And then I've demasked, okay? As you can see, nice little mess. You can kind of get all your blue tack and maybe try and roll it up into another ball, and you reuse it if you want, because although it's got a bit of paint on, you know, you roll it up into a ball and everything. You can use it like once or twice more if you want to, but I just throw it in the bin. So you probably noticed that I haven't said that I have come along and done some post shading. Okay, now the reason for this is I do like to unmask and post shade with the second camo stage. Okay, this is because I find that it kind of sort of blends in the two camo patterns a little bit nicer. Okay, you got to be a little bit careful, because I mean you don't want to be messing it up. Okay, but same as before, nice bit of black. That might have been too much, hold on. Nice bit of black, and you just want to make up a darker consistency of green basically. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's looking like a nice dark green going on. Ooh, although I think I might actually go a little bit darker. Okay, so it kind of probably blends a little bit better with our brown. Okay, so that's looking pretty good now, I think. Yep, that's looking good. Okay, so we want to spray through whatever leftover green we've got just in the needle end. Okay, I've just sprayed that through, so now we're getting this dark green coming through. Okay, and I just want to play around, just let's see how it looks. Now you've got to be careful, because you don't want to go spraying mad onto brown areas, but a little bit of an overlap is kind of okay to kind of just blend these two colours together a little bit. Okay, just a little bit, just so you know it just kind of looks a little more natural, not being too sharp. Okay, not too 100% separated, because these colours in real life, you know, over time can kind of merge a bit as like the weather kind of, and the sun gets at it and the rain gets at it, and it can kind of sort of bleed into each other. And that's what I'm just trying to hopefully represent a bit here. Okay, now the other thing is as well, because I've been saving my work with gloss coats, like our glossy brown going on here, it just makes it a little harder, admittedly, to kind of see how this is going to look in the end, because as you can probably tell, the green is matte and the brown is gloss, which means the brown is going to look a little darker than it's going to end up being, and the green is because it's matte and it's still that original colour, it hasn't gone through the process of having a couple of gloss coats on it, then a matte coat on it, so that's not going to end up the way that's going to end. So can be a little confusing, but you know, kind of trusting what you're doing and your work, and just knowing that, you know, all this gloss and matte stuff's going to kind of come together eventually in the end. So now you're probably thinking that brown is looking a bit too brown, a bit too dark, but it will lighten up. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just doing some post shading, just targeting the green areas, just those green recesses. And remember, you know, the key is to get that biting point where the paint just starts to come out of your needle end, and trying to hold that, and you know, not sticking around in the same place for too long. So really what you might want to do is maybe practice on a plain piece of paper and just trying to pull back the needle slightly and just get in that little bit of a biting point where you see it just starting to come out. Okay, and that's what you want to get. You just want to get that and just play around with that. Right, so give this a nice bit of time to dry now. Okay, so what we can do is just targeting our brown areas where our blue tack went down. Okay, what we want to do is just give it a little rub, okay, with a lightly moistened cloth. Okay, and you want to be careful because this green paint, okay, doesn't have any kind of protection on it. Okay, so it's just a light rub, and all we're trying to do is just kind of get that bit of blue tack residue that's left behind, just cleaned up and removed a bit, at least, so that our gloss coat will go down a little bit better. Well, should go down a lot better actually, than just leaving it as it is, because I mean it can leave slight little marks, but this little rub should hopefully sort that out. So I'm going to go around and do the whole of that now. Right, so I've give this a nice bit of a rub down. I've even finally put on our little elevators at the back here as well. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could put those elevators on first, but then you'd have to kind of mask it up just underneath and everything to kind of be able to spray under there and everything, and it would have just made things a little bit trickier with the masking and the sausage blue tack and everything. So by gluing them on now, we've saved us a little bit of hassle at the back here with masking and everything. So plain and simply, now we're coming to this final stage with the spraying where we can basically seal it in and leave it overnight to dry to then do the deckling. Now there's a few more other little parts that I've got just over there, which is just stuff like landing gear and stuff, which just needs a quick spray of silver, which I'll do that off camera, because I mean I don't want to completely bore you with that. That's pretty simple really, and we just give this a nice first light coat. Okay, as usual, nice misty coat to start with. Okay, making sure you get them leading edges. Okay, and just get it nicely all over. Nice first misty coat. And what you'll notice, what you'll probably notice is as well, this misty coat will hopefully kind of blend in these different kind of mattes and varnishes that we had on here. Because if you remember, your green was matte, your brown was glossy, and it probably looked a little bit strange. Okay, but now that we've actually come along and got that gloss kind of all over, it sort of blends in a bit nicer. Okay, so we've got this pretty nice weathered up plane here now, this Spitfire, and as I say, it's probably looking a little OTT, but it will dull down through the processes of deckling, weathering, and that final matte coat. And let's just say it's still over the top and you don't like it, there's no reason why you can't come along, get the original colour, like brown or green, and just do some targeted kind of dull down of the weathering. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get really, the smoother your surface, the better the deckling is going to be, and should say the easier it's going to be, because it's going to have that nice smooth surface for the decals to have a full-on 100% contact with the surface of the paintwork. Okay, so really 2-3 set coats on this should get it to a nice level to be able to decal on. But as I say, if you wanted to put that a bit of extra effort in and really got it mega glossy, just so that your decals really go down nicely, you can. Okay, but the main thing is, what you want to do is you want to leave it overnight to properly dry, go rock hard, properly cure. Okay, so you haven't basically got wet paint, because we're going to be putting deckling solutions down and stuff, and they can just eat a bit away at your gloss work, okay, and your paint work, if you're not careful, okay? And that's the whole point of putting this gloss down, is to, you know, stop Decklin Solutions from doing any kind of possible eating away your paintwork, and to make that nice smooth surface to give your decal film that 100% contact with your paintwork, and it just preps it all, and at the same time, you know, it protects your paintwork so you don't scratch it so easily. So I'm going to crack on with this, and then the next bit's going to be some nice deckling. Right, we're into the deckling stage now of our Tamiya Spitfire, and as you can see, I've already done a bit of deckling on this, because to be totally honest with you, the Japanese decals, I haven't quite got the hang of it, shall we say, because it's a bit of a different ball game to European and US kind of decal film, and I'm just still trying to work out what's the best way to put them down. So I've had a bit of a play, and I've kind of got the gist of it, shall I say. So basically what the problem is the decals film in China, don't know what it is they use, but them using something different than what is kind of going on over here in Europe and the US. It seems to be kind of like thicker decal film, and it seems to kind of wrinkle up like there's no tomorrow as well, which can cause problems. What I've found is your micro salt and set, okay, this stuff, you know, is really good stuff for your European, US kind of decals, but when you start putting on like Tamiya decals and Hasegawa decals, I've found that, and it does kind of make sense really, that to use your Mr. Mark softener and setter appears to be, you know, the better stuff to use, which, as I say, makes sense. You know, you're using Japanese decals, you know, use Japanese Decklin Solutions, okay? So, you know, if you want to put these decals down and have a bit of less hassle, shall we say, you know, you want to kind of start using this stuff. Even though, I mean, even then, to be honest with you, it still feels like these decals are a bit of a pain, because they just seem quite thick. Quite sticky, because I mean the Decklin Solutions seem quite sticky, decals seem quite sticky, and they seem quite thick, and when you put the solutions down, they really do kind of wrinkle up. And once or twice in the past I've had them, you know, maybe I've added a bit too much Decklin Solution and they've wrinkled up so much that they literally crease in on themselves, and you get this absolute nasty mess. And from what I've read on the internet as well, people don't tend to like them as well, but what I found, okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to actually, you know, go through a process that hopefully will improve your Japanese decal placing, okay? Plain and simply, you know, cut off one of your decals, and then what you can do, I normally just dip into a pot of water, but you know, if you want to, you can put them on some tweezers. And I just want to, you know, rotate the camera a bit, sorry about the whole thing, but what I've got here is like a food warmer with some candles just underneath here, which basically keeps our water at a nice temperature, not boiling, not cold, because I mean deckling can take hours and hours and hours, and you may have come along, put some warm water in your pot here, but give it like half an hour and that's gone stone cold, okay? So that's something I like to use now. So let's just get you back in, sorry. Okay, so now this is working its way into all that water and moisture is now working its way into the decal film, you know, and moistening it all up, ready to be slid off. So let's see if this is gonna come off. Yeah, there we go. One thing I do like to do, which I've always used to do before, was I used to come along and put some water down in a spray bottle. You spray it on and you've got micro set in there, but as I say, the micro solid set don't seem to work. So in this case, I mean, I would spray on just plain water, but I haven't, so I'm just brushing a bit of water down just to make the whole decal going down a bit easier, and you can basically maneuver it. So let's bring you in a bit close now, because we're getting in close now. Sorry about this. Okay, there we go. So we can now maneuver our decal how we want to. So basically I'm going to copy how it looks the other side in its positioning. Okay, Just 1 second, that looks about right, I think. Maybe a little bit more up. Okay, so that's looking good and in position. Normally we would apply some micro set on top. However, in this case I do find that if you can kind of shall we say get rid of a bit of this moisture first, it just helps. Okay, so we're just rolling over and trying to roll out some of this moisture. Okay, that's underneath the decal, and what we're trying to do, we're trying to get this, the air, the moisture and everything from underneath the decal pretty much, so we get this real nice, you know, 100% contact between the decal and the model. Now, coming along with the Mr. Mark setter, okay, we're just going to apply some on top like so. Now, the one thing about our Japanese decaling solutions is sometimes, depending on what decals you have, sometimes you can just get away with just the Mr. Mark setter, because this stuff is pretty strong stuff and it really does react, you know, quite a bit with these Japanese decals. So this could actually, you know, do all of it. Okay, it's just when you kind of, if you've got some bit slightly stubborn decals, okay, you know, you can come along, you know, and hit it with the Mr. Mark, which is like even more potent. So what we've got to be careful here from normal is we've got decals that are, shall we say, they react more to decaling solutions, they wrinkle up more, so you've got to be careful of, you know, these things creasing up on themselves. They are thicker decals, they are stronger, but you've also got to remember that, you know, coming along with your European micro solid set doesn't seem to work as well. You want to go Japanese with Japanese. Okay, so let's allow this Mr. Mark setter to work into this decal, you know, and dry, and then we can come along and see how it is and see if we need to add, say, more Mr. Mark setter, or come along and use the softener.